Hello everybody, welcome back. It is me, your old pal Orpheus, with another edition here of Orpheus Plays. Again, though, this is going to be a Orpheus Talks, I guess. This is going to be on the mental health playlist. I will be linking that playlist at the end of the video. There's a lot of good videos in there. Some of them are me actually playing Blade and Sorcery. I play that sometimes as a background to talk about some of the more lighthearted or topics that can be in a lighthearted situation. I discuss my brain damage, having music running in my head all the time, stuff like that. And it's a good environment where I can get a chance to just enjoy myself, but also give you a little information. This one is going to be a little bit more serious, sort of. It's still going to be a little bit lighthearted. But it is a topic that I think a lot of people deal with, and I certainly dealt with it growing up. Anyway, I hope you're doing well wherever you are today. This is going to be something that maybe connects with you, might be something that you go through in your life right now, or it may be something that is totally foreign to you, and you might get some perspective on how things work like that. Before we get started, we are here in the home environment for the Quest 2. This is the Paradiso, Paradise, whatever. It's the Paradise home environment. Really cool, really tranquil and serene. I might actually, at some point in the future here, do a guided relaxation video. I tend to have... I have a broadcaster voice because I was a broadcaster, strangely enough, so maybe I'll use that to give you all, not some ASMR or anything, but you know. Okay. So, when I was growing up, and even to this day, I've always looked around, because my family, if you've seen some of my videos, my family is not normal. That's a light way to put it. My family has a lot of money. I do not anymore. I decided to walk away from all of that nearly 20 years ago because I fell in love with an amazing woman and they did not accept her. There's just for some reason they thought that she was lower class than me because her family is a bunch of cattle farmers, you know, which ironically makes... Anyway, they don't do too bad, folks. Cattle farmers do not do as bad as you know my parents would have thought. Oh man, my hands are doing weird stuff. Whoop, there we go. But wealth can do some weird things to people, and I'll be doing another video relatively soon about how I've always felt ashamed about how I grew up wealthy. But it's like I had a totally different experience growing up that way than most people. But it's like I always feel like I have to apologize for growing up with money. Don't worry, I'm not a douchebag because of it. Like I said, I walked away from it 20 years ago. We're not wealthy by any means, but we are comfortable, and that's really what's important. We can afford our lifestyle. We have a lifestyle that makes us happy, and that's about all you can ask for in life, right? Just to go for things that make you happy. Okay. So growing up, bad family environment. Even though things were easy to come by and we never wanted for anything, the emotions weren't there. We weren't a family that said, I love you. You know, like, it wasn't like, oh, I'll talk to you later, love you, bye. There was none of that stuff. Mom and dad would occasionally show affection, but it was like they would have tickets to go out to some gala or some ball or something like that, and they'd be dressing up and getting all ready, and it would be all lovey-dovey, and then later they'd come home and obviously fight about something, whatever. We were probably, if you look up dysfunctional in the dictionary, we were probably the picture that was shown next to it. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. Dysfunctional family, the concept of the dysfunctional family has been around for a long time, but it didn't really start turning into something that people discussed until about the late 80s or so. Families would always sit around the table and do their thing and everything, but for us it was, 7 o'clock, we're having dinner. I don't give a, what you're doing at the point, at that point in your life or the day. You are coming to sit down. It was, what did you do today? Do you have any homework? Did you do it already? What are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing to better yourself? this was the time that punishments would sometimes be doled out by my dad. Anything from being grounded or doing punishment chores all the way to, after dinner you're getting a beating kind of thing. Dinner time, always a messed up time. And my mom didn't really know how to cook very well. Sorry, Mom, if you ever see any of my videos. First of all, screw you. Second of all, you were a terrible cook. You thought the microwave was a better way to cook a turkey than an oven. Whatever. Anyway. And these are the old microwaves, so before you're like, I've done that. No, not these old ones. Ugh. Anyway, I've seen green smoke come out of the back. Anyway. So needless to say, I always realized very fully that I was in a screwed up, dysfunctional family, right? And so I would spend time out in the world with my friends, and I would go out in public to malls and arcades and stuff like that. And I would see, or we would go on vacation. The family would go on vacation. We would fake being happy out in while we were out in the amusement park or wherever. And then it would be everyone pissed off at each other or just ignoring each other at the hotel or whatever resort we were staying at. But I would see these other families, and they were like, you could tell that they weren't faking it. Right? You could tell that they genuinely had a relationship with each other that was cool, that they were trusting of each other, that they loved each other, that it was a tight, connected family. Because when you are in a situation like that and your family fakes it every time that you're out in public, you can tell, okay? You can tell that when they're faking it, if they're out there doing that. And so I would see these other families, and yes, I would see the ones that were faking it, but I would also see the ones that were genuinely like a loving and good family unit. And I would always go, God, I wonder what that's like. I wish so much that I had grown up in a normal family, because some of my friends were in those normal family situations. At least what I perceived was a normal family situation, right? So I would go over there. The parents would be, hey, how's everything going? Oh, yeah, my son's down in the basement. They're playing on their, Genesis or whatever. You'd go downstairs. There'd be, everything. The kid was allowed to decorate the basement the way that they wanted. You've had friends growing up that like, you go into the basement and it's like their space, right? The parents' stuff is up here, and then you've got their space down there, and it's got posters and like their own furniture that they wanted, and a TV and game consoles and all that stuff. Maybe they have a job, right? I wasn't allowed to have a job growing up. My parents always wanted me available to do whatever, whether it was just pick up and go to like Europe or something. Those are other videos that I will get to at another time. Whether it was something like that, or my dad had odd jobs at his company that he wanted done, and like one of the punishment chores that I would get is my dad had a machine tool factory, and so when the machinists would make things, there would be these steel shavings, these things that would come off of the metal, and you'd have to get a push broom and sweep those up, and then pick them up and put them in a bin. They were razor sharp. You had to wear gloves, but the gloves got sliced. Anyway, he would need me to do stuff like that, or my mom would want me to deliver things from her business or help her with one of her other business. You get the point. So I was never allowed to actually have my own money and my own job. There was not really an allowance. It was just, here's what you're going to get to have for money when you go out tonight or tomorrow. Here's $20. And $20 got a lot farther back then than it would now. That was like dinner, movie, arcade for a while, drive home. $20 was one night instead of like one thing that you do that, and actually half of one thing. Anyway, the economy. Woof. But I always expected that there were other families out there that were happier, right? And I knew that they were there, and I saw that there were normal families that they had fun, they enjoyed each other. The kid had a level of independence that was pretty incredible. They were able to do stuff like my brother. Good God, my parents allowed him to go down to Florida on vacation with his friends and, like, you know, get their own place to stay in for a week and do whatever they wanted. They weren't calling all the time. There were no cell phones back then. So, you know, it was, my brother would call once a day, if even that. And my parents like, oh, you having fun? Yep. Okay. Well, we'll talk to you when we talk to you. Bye. For me, it was like I would go to a friend's house for overnight, and it was 4 phone calls and don't you dare, and you make sure that you and I don't want to hear about, you know. So I always wished for a non-dysfunctional family. But here's the point. Maybe you've got a family like that as well. Maybe you've got a family that is different or, you know, completely messed up. What does it mean to find a normal family? Especially these days, right? We used to have the concept of the nuclear family, which is mom, dad, couple of kids, dog, house, couple of cars, white picket fence, right? That was the cliche nuclear family, right? But as society has evolved, okay, as our concept of family has evolved, or maybe devolved, because a lot of tribal cultures and civilizations, and a lot of civilizations as you go further back in history, were very community-based, right? There were non-traditional family structures everywhere. And that's what we're developing now in our modern society, a very non-traditional family structure. But it's becoming the traditional family structure because it's been in place now for a couple generations, okay? So we're seeing this non-traditional family. So what does normal actually mean? What does it mean to have, you know, to look around and say, gosh, I wish I had a mom and a dad that loved me, and a brother and a sister that loved me? And, you know, is that the ideal that we should be striving for? A family where we feel safe and accepted and comfortable and loved? Of course it is. Of course it is. And of course you have a right to have that situation and that family environment. But let's be realistic, okay? You're not probably going to have that environment if it starts off as a dysfunctional family. So what do you do about that? What if you live in a family that is clearly not going to get better? Well, there's a few things that you can do. First of all, I used to imagine when I came home, because every time I came home, it was a fight. Okay. Every time I came home, it was, what did you do? Where were you? Who were you with? How much money did you spend? Did you do anything that would embarrass the family? Did people see your tattoos? Did you smoke? Did you drink? Did you overeat because you're overweight? I never was overweight, by the way. It was always that, a fight whenever I came home. And I'm sure a lot of you deal with that. Or if you don't, you should know that there are a lot of people, the minute that they get in the door, it's just ding, 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 the fight is on. And it's, you know, boxing gloves on. Not literally most of the time. If you're in that situation, find some help, please. But, you know, it would start off immediately when you get home from school or work or whatever. But I learned, there's one way that I kind of learned how to cope with that. And it's kind of like you have to visualize this. You have to visualize that there's this bubble around you, right? This, like, I don't want to get all metaphysical and everything, because it's not like, hey, dude, you want to imagine your aura pushing it. No. You want to imagine almost like a bubble of light around you as you come in, right? So it's almost an attitude adjustment on your part. But it's more of a, like, you stop caring, but instead of caring, like, less, you understand and decide that there's gonna be heat. And so you just put this bubble around yourself where you're like, I'm gonna try to not let all this affect me. You know, you feel that tension coming at you from your folks or from your sibling or whatever, your roommates even. You just got to be able to go, you know, I'm going to let some of that just bounce off. I'm not even going to register some of that heat that I'm getting. I'm just going to let it chill, right? And you try not to escalate it. If they are telling you stuff that you need to do this and you need to do that, just allow yourself the ability to say, okay, I'll work on that. Thank you. Yes. You know, thank you for the advice. Sometimes instead of yelling back, I look back at my life. maybe there are more times that I should have just kind of leaned into it and said, you're right, I should do something more. You get a little bit of, pride and you get a chip on your shoulder, especially when you're growing up. I get that, okay? You want to push your own independence. You want to push your own identity. But sometimes you got to learn to just take a couple of punches, right? Not literally. You got to learn to take a couple, emotional gut punches here and there and not escalate things. So that's number one. Number two, you have to kind of develop some coping mechanisms, okay? Before we go on, I just want to say I'm not licensed or I don't have any degrees in anything that have to do with psychology or psychiatry or counseling or anything like that. I've just lived through this stuff, so I know I've developed some of these coping strategies myself. One of the other things that you can do, so number two, find coping strategies. Get into a situation where you feel comfortable by yourself. So if you can, make your room, or just part of your room, a corner of your room, right? Your own space. Make it where you put your stereo or your computer, or you keep your tablet right there in that space. Make it even so that's the place that you use your phone or your tablet for social media or whatever it is. Be able to have a group of friends that you can talk to when you're in your safe space, right? So that means you get in your, and here's a good idea, a good example, get something like this, right? A papasan, a hanging papasan, right? Or something like that. Or drape a little, canopy thing. You've seen those, like a tapestry. Drape that over in one corner, tack it to the walls, have it so it's just kind of a nice little tent almost that hangs over that corner. Put some soft lights in there, a little cushion, right? Something like that. Sit down, relax, get yourself, kind of like that kind of thing going on. Okay. Make it a safe space. Use your technology that makes you feel good in that safe space. Go get some comfort food. And I'm not talking wolf down 3 bags of Lay's potato chips. I'm talking something that you can munch on, like some licorice, right? Or get yourself some Werther's candies, or get yourself some nice caramel candies so you can chuck on. No, do something like that. It's something that's a comfort thing that you don't have to go and cook, right? You're trying to avoid as much heat and like tension as possible. So this is almost like retreating into yourself, because you got 3 options when you're in a heated situation where you feel threatened, whether it's emotionally or physically. You get fight, flight, or hide. Okay, so fight and flight. Fighting is getting into that rah 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 escalation. Flight is you just go screw it, and you go out the front door, you slam the door, you go get in your car and you drive off, or you run away, like if you're a younger kid, even worse idea, or you hide. And hiding, don't worry, you're not giving in. You are reacting to a primal instinct that you have. So make somewhere in your room or in your home where you feel that place where you can go hide. Okay? So develop that coping instinct of having a safe spot that you made yourself. Okay. Number 3, learn to deal with it as you get older, and realize that there's going to be a point at some point very soon for most of you where you can nope out, right? 18 years old for most people. In some states or some places, it's a lower age. You can also try to get emancipated from your parents. You go and get a court order showing them that there's abuse going on, or that you are financially independent or something, if that's what the situation, if you have some trust fund from grandma or something, right? You can declare yourself emancipated and an independent citizen, and the courts will agree, and you can go off, get your own place, whatever. Realize that you have that option, even if you think that you are entangled with your family and your life so heavily that you just feel like there's no way that you can get out. Find some friends. Go on to a place where you find some roommates. Get some roommates. Find your own place. And number 4 is maybe the hardest one to do, but also one of the most refreshing ones. This is a drastic measure, and I don't suggest it unless you're in a situation where you have no other way to do it. And that is pull out of your family. Like I said at the beginning of this, 20 years ago, nearly, decided to just walk away from my family, walk away from the wealth, walk away from all of that BS privilege that I didn't earn, right? I was born into it, and I never felt like I deserved it. I never felt like I was a part of that. I always felt like, oh, and here's all this stuff. Okay, now I have no value of any of it. Thank you. When I got out of all that situation, it was shocking to me that, like, oh my God, I have to do my own taxes. I have to do my own insurance. I have to pay for all this. Oh my, I can't even go to normal dinner. Right? It was a shock to my system, realizing that, all these things cost so much money, like going on vacation. Crap. We haven't gone on vacation the whole time that my wife and I have been together, and it's because it just costs so much. But back when I was with my family, it was like, we're going to Disney World this weekend. Okay, we live in Michigan. What the, Anyway, so 4, be prepared to pull out of your family. Be prepared to walk away from a toxic situation. If you have done number 3 and you have noped out, right? Be prepared to do number 4, which is no more calling them, no more hanging out with them, no more dealing with that grief. If they're always on your ass about something, and it's not like, oh, they're on my ass because they don't like my girlfriend. No. I'm talking, you're getting married and they refuse to even meet the family of the people that of the woman that you're getting married to. Yes, that happened to me. To this day, they've never even met in person. So stuff like that. It's got to be a drastic situation for you to take a drastic measure like just pulling out of your family completely. But to tell you the truth, it has been one of the best things that I could have done for the rest of my life. No, I didn't get the inheritance and everything. Yes, that's been kind of tough to deal with, especially as you get older and you want to save some stuff for when you retire. It gets difficult to not have that passing on of wealth. But honestly, it wasn't worth it. It wouldn't have been worth it to stay and deal with all of that extra crap, all of that extra abuse that happened over the last 20 years that I just avoided. I stepped out of the way of it, and it's been amazing. So, what is a normal family? I don't know. Do you know? I would say a normal family is whatever routine you settle into, because normal these days has changed. Normal can mean a dysfunctional family. It can mean people that don't get along. But if you can learn how to deal with it a little better, maybe even suggest family therapy. Oh my gosh. Suggest to someone in your family, maybe your brother, your sister, or if you get along with one of your parents, say, maybe we should go see somebody about this stuff. We tried it in my family. It never worked because my parents spit so much venom at each other and at us as a family. And my brother never went to these things. I don't know why. Maybe he was just the perfect one. No bitterness. Anyway, so what is normal? Who knows? You can make whatever situation you're in your normal. And if you find another family that you're friends with that is more normal than you perceive, spend more time with them. Why not? Go do the stuff with them. They'll be more than happy to accommodate you. We used to growing up, oh, you want to stay for dinner? Yeah. They knew that there was something going on at my house and that they were helping out. They knew, girlfriends that I grew up with, that I dated on and off for like a decade, I would spend more time at their houses hanging out than I would at my own. And it's because I tried to make my own normal, and it worked. It worked. I'm not normal today by any means, but I have enough of a normal life that I feel happy and good when it counts. All right. So I hope that helped. I hope it gave you a little bit of insight, and I hope to let you know that you are not by yourself when it comes to something like this. You are not alone when it comes to a hard situation at home, and you can always reach out to other people because don't feel ashamed. Everyone has a little bit of a screwed up thing in their life, and a lot of people have a really screwed up thing in their life. Find each other. Connect with those other people, and you will have a more fulfilling and happier life. I promise. Anyway, we'll see you next time here on Orpheus Plays. Hope you do well. Be well, do good, and treat yourself well, because you deserve it. See ya. Bye.